All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Tech Still Worth Buying. I'll be going over the recommendation I did yesterday during my usual newsletter review, and we'll see how things are holding in terms of uh, what prices have changed and basically how well those recommendations are holding up and try to see in detail uh, who the devices are good for and all that sort of stuff. So I hope your Canada Day plans are going well. I hope the celebration are still already underway. If not, hopefully you'll get there. It's a long weekend, which means it's good for everybody. And let's see. And of course, we're June the 30th now. This is a follow up to yesterday stream, which was the 29th, which is why it's listed that way. And if we look at the trends, average price of tech is not quite as good as what it was yesterday. So let's see, right now it's at 1238 and it was just over 1200 yesterday. So it jumped back up a little bit on average. But yeah, overall, I think the deals on offer are pretty similar to what we had yesterday. It must be a question of several of them going out of stock. That's probably what happened. But still, overall, pretty good time to go shopping. Last time we had prices in that neighborhood was beginning of January. So yeah, if you've waited this long to go shopping for tech, well, you did well. So let's see. Among the accessories I recommended yesterday, prices have dropped even further for the wireless marathon mouse, although I'm pretty sure that this is because I did some additional research yesterday evening and found a few interesting refurbished model for that one. So if you want to save money on wireless mouse, which has a pretty impressive battery life on it, and I know that I'm personally quite a fan of the wheel on this particular model. So yeah, great mouse in my opinion. Not necessarily something that it's not necessarily gaming grade, but it's even for that, it's not going to be a bad pick. And yeah, if all you can afford is 22 bucks, this refurbished option here is going to be a great option for you there. Otherwise, if you need a keyboard to go along with that, uh, this combo from Microsoft is still available and still at $40 from Best Buy. So no change in price there. And yeah, pretty easy to come by. Good basic standard quality keyboard and mouse combo. So definitely a nice way if you wanted to reorganize your desk or just were a little grossed out by your current keyboard and mouse. It's a pretty inexpensive way and a simple way to replace that. And for monitors this week, I picked up this IPS LED monitor from Asus. Yeah, still the same price it was yesterday. Still available online and in stores from Best Buy. So if you don't want to brave the roads or anything like that, you don't even have to go there. You can just order online. And yeah, pretty good response time on it. It's not necessarily what we would call a gaming monitor or anything like that, but for most of us, it's good enough. It probably has better specs than anything I have in front of me right now, so by all means, don't shy away because it says it's not a gaming monitor or anything like that. It doesn't have any fancy features. It's a 22-inch Full HD 60Hz monitor. It's going to be more than fine for most of us. Would definitely be an upgrade in my case for several of the monitors in front of me. And for smartphones, the iPhone 6s Plus was my budget pick yesterday. And prices haven't changed. It's still on sale, refurbished from Amazon for only $600. As you see, we've had much better prices in the past, but right now that's what we have. And yeah, the attractive thing with the iPhone 6s Plus is that at that price you will have a hard time to find a smartphone with a better camera than this. It's got optical image stabilization among other things, and refurbished like that. Yeah, if I remember right, yeah, it's Prime eligible. It's pretty reliable source on Amazon, even though it's refurbished. And yeah, if you want to save some money but want pretty, you know, a full featured phone, it's hard to go better than this. And yeah, for all the stuff it's able to run, you've got access to Fortnite, Minecraft. The Office suite will even run on this. Really, for the price, you get quite a bit. If you want something new, on the other hand, one serious contender, in my opinion, is the OnePlus 6 here. And yeah, there's no rebate on it or anything like that. It's available strictly online from OnePlus. But yeah, OnePlus usually do pretty well when it comes to you know, delivering a lot of bang for the buck, essentially. Whatever they cut in terms of feature, we usually don't feel them as a sacrifice so much. Hey Spare, glad to get you here. Welcome to the new stream format. And yeah, I'm basically just going over the recommendations I did yesterday during Tech Word Buying. And I'm going over each recommendation, seeing if prices and availability changed since yesterday. And I just take my time to go over them because, yeah, the Friday video is, well, I've got to trim it down to 2 minutes and 20 seconds for Twitter. So it's a very quick overview of everything. And yeah, on Saturday when I review everything, I take my time. So any question you have, let me know. But yeah, the cheapest brand new smartphone right now that I would recommend would be that OnePlus 6. When it comes to the OnePlus smartphones, though, I must admit I much prefer the OnePlus 5, OnePlus 5T. The glass back on this one, as well as they raised the screen resolution, which personally I don't think it's necessary for a smartphone. Something that has we are talking about a 6 inch and a quarter here. To go over 1080p, in my opinion, you're not going to benefit from that so much. So overall, you get a smartphone that's not better than the previous iteration in any way, but you get glass back, which means that it's going to be very easy to break, and you get a notch on the screen. So I really wish they still sold the 5T personally, but hey, that's me. People are buying smartphones with notches and glass backs these days, and yeah, I'm just sounding like an old man. But hey, that's the way things are evolving currently. But yeah, in terms of performance, they pack quite a lot of hardware in there. It's going to be very good to run most of the apps we want to run on a smartphone, and then some. That thing has a lot of RAM built in, so for a multitasker, it's going to be super fast switching between apps and all of that. So if you're on the go and you have to react quick to different situations, great pick for that. Otherwise, the Pixel 2 is a pretty solid choice as well. Not as powerful as the OnePlus, simply because at this point the OnePlus as the age advantage was released last month, while the Pixel was released last October. But yeah, you get the benefit of getting updates straight from Google instead of having to rely on basically to wait on your carrier to do updates and then the manufacturers of your smartphone to do updates. So yeah, you get the latest, greatest straight from the source with a Google Pixel, which is the main reason to pick one in my opinion. So you get definitely a longevity bonus thanks to that, and the camera on this one is one of the favorites currently. So if you're a mobile photographer or anything like that, you want to document your summer vacations for your friends and family that couldn't be there, definitely a solid choice for that. And it's a little bit on the expensive side, but there's much more expensive on the market right now. And in terms of what it's capable of doing, it can run quite a bit, including PlayerUnknown's Battleground. Yeah, there's a mobile version of that. And same thing with productivity software, and it's got, I think even the small version of the Pixel 2 has dual speakers on it, so you've got stereo sound, so good for music, good for videos. Make them jealous. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's half the point of vacations, right? Making everybody else jealous. Social media too. I mean, that's why we invented the thing, didn't we? And yes, tablets. I picked a little bit more than usual yesterday. My budget pick is still the Fire HD 8. That's one I was a little bit skeptical about. The specs on this tablets are very low compared to the competition anyway. But the thing is, for $100, it's one of the safer bets. Most of the other $100 tablets on the market come from other companies, and you won't necessarily get either access to the Google Play Store or even frequent updates. Usually you will buy this, it's probably an old version of Android you have on this already, which means that, well, you're already far behind everybody else, you don't get security updates, and I mean, those things are not the most secure devices we have to start up with, so always a little nervous recommending stuff that you won't be able to get the proper apps or anything like that. The Fire HD 8 is partly qualifies to those downsides. However, you do not have access to the Google Play Store. So that means that anything you bought for, let's say you bought a game for your smartphone, well, you're going to have to buy it again. The other thing is that, yeah, Amazon and Google are kind of locking horns these days. And that means that any app that has Google somewhere involved behind this is not available on this, and that includes YouTube, which is probably one of the things most people do most on their tablets. That's definitely what I do most of the time. But still, I'm pretty happy with mine personally. I managed to find a third-party YouTube app for it that, you know, it works okay. It doesn't work as well as the official YouTube app, so I cannot, let's say, stream or you know, use you know, cast to a television or anything like that, like I can with my smartphone. So that's the one obvious upgrade downside of that, but otherwise it works just fine. The video quality and everything is fine, and I subscribed to YouTube Premium recently, and it's respecting that, so no ads, and I support my content creator through the way they calculate that for YouTube Premium instead of relying on ads. So everything that way works fine. I'm just missing a few extra features that could be a deal breaker for a few people. And I know that there's lots of guides online to install the Play Store on this thing. It's possible. However, the downside is you kind of lock yourself out of the option of getting security upgrades and, you know, all that stuff. So that's not something I consider most of my viewers will do. But if you're a little bit more adventurous, that's one of the options you have available if the absence of the Play Store is a deal breaker for you. And because it has the Amazon App Store instead of the Google App Store, you have the big names are present there. As you see, YouTube is only 1 star because that's a Google product. It works as described, but not full featured, so I'm just only awarding 1 star to that one. But Monument Valley is one of those games that is also available on the Amazon Play Store. So is Minecraft Pocket Edition. So you've got quite a few options in there. It's a good tablet, in my opinion, for the young ones in the house and stuff like that. That way, you don't even have to get a Google account attached to that thing. So it's a little easier to leave in the hands of younger ones without having to worry so much about, you know, social media getting leaked and all that sort of things. It's good enough for video music listening. If you're a Prime member, you get Prime Video, Prime Music, and everything else on that. So it's a limited ecosystem kind of device, but it's definitely workable. The iPad, the 2017 model, is also at its lowest price on record. I think I've only seen it at $350 for 1 day during the last December or something like that. So really, we haven't seen a price like this on this device for so long ever. So personally, I bought one. The wife wanted to replace her tablet for quite a while now. And yeah, we took advantage of that price. So if you're looking for seal of approval, that's the closest thing I've got. That will also let me keep an eye on things and how things are progressing on the iOS side of the fence. I haven't had an iOS device since... Oh, yeah, the 2nd generation iPad, I think, is the latest one. So, yeah, that will let me see how things have evolved. I know that personally I prefer the freedom of movement of the Android ecosystem, the way different apps can help each other out to complete a task instead of having each of them very rigidly blocked from each other. Obviously, there's some downsides to that, but yeah, the iPad 2017 is only $350 right now, so that's pretty damn cheap. And that thing is nearly as capable as the 2018 model is, so unless you want to be able to use the Apple stylus on this one, you get all the features essentially. It's only a tiny bit less powerful. And yeah, in terms of apps, we've got access to quite a bit, including Fortnite in there. There's an impressive version of Civilization 6 available for the device as well. If you want to use Clip Studio Paint with a third-party stylus or something like that, definitely a great way to, you know, just sketch while you're on the go or anything like that. You're not going to be able to do anything that would describe as print quality drawing on that, but at least you can, you know, sketch, and if you want to refine that afterwards on the computer, you definitely can. Even without the Apple stylus, it's a pretty solid option for an artist that's just looking for something to, you know, just jot something really quick. Very capable in that terms, well, for tablets anyway. As long as you don't expect that you're going to do something that is print quality, that you're going to print poster size afterwards. It's not going to work with super high resolution or anything like that. You might want to go for the iPad Pro if that's a project of yours, but otherwise, yeah, not bad at all. Very versatile, especially at its current price. Otherwise, if gaming on tablet is your primary priority, it's really hard to beat the Nintendo Switch in that regard. Not only you get access to really high quality games, you also manage to cut off most of those. You know how mobile games tends to be a little, you know, there it's the free to play market. So if you buy a tablet to let the younglings play games around the house, you also end up exposing them to a lot of psychological manipulation to try to convince them to pay actual money for the free game they downloaded. Well, on the Switch, you don't have that problem as much. There's very few free-to-play games on it, although there's definitely a few. I've seen a few. But yeah, that thing is definitely stronger than most iPad. You've got much better quality control thanks to Nintendo there, and for playing, it's a fantastic mobile device. The downside is that currently playing is the only thing you're going to be doing on this. They don't even have YouTube or Netflix on this, which is a little bit weird to me, especially considering that the first device I watched Netflix on was the Nintendo Wii. So I'm not 100% sure why Nintendo didn't take, you know, the big video providers right off the bat, but Nintendo got a Nintendo, huh? We hear that apparently Netflix is coming, so fingers crossed. That could be an option that basically you could give a kid and they get access to really great games, minimal amount of you know, clawing at their emotional strings to get more money out of them, and hopefully soon they will be able to watch their videos as well. Plus you get home console in process, so I mean, it's pretty good value there. Also got pretty interested in the how would I say? The Surface Pro this week, it's currently, it's definitely going out of stock. What we're seeing right now is the very last few models of this one. But one of the benefits of it is that for the price, a lot of retailers are also bundling the keyboard cover in this price. So if you were looking to get a Surface Pro and definitely wanted the keyboard to go along with it, well, it's definitely not a bad time to get it. That thing is relatively powerful, especially for the size it is and the battery life it can reach. It's If we look at the big scale things, not the most powerful, but in terms of portable power, we get something that's quite attractive there. Best price to get it currently is from Amazon. It's currently sold there by a pretty reliable retailer, and it's uh, handled by Amazon too. So they kind of gave their stamp of approval on this reseller. So pretty safe place to get it to if you're a little nervous about buying a computer online. And yeah, we're looking at very different scope in terms of what kind of programs that tablet can run, because you get the full Windows on this. So then you get again Fortnite, you get the desktop version of Minecraft. Want to run Adobe After Effects? Might not be the best computer to do the job, but it can if you absolutely have to. And the same thing if you want to run the desktop version of Photoshop, you can. Makes this a pretty attractive tablet for artists, or even if you just spend a lot of time in meetings or away from your desk. That's definitely a tablet that's able to get quite a bit of work done compared to most of my previous selections. And it's currently, let me just verify, yeah, it's just over $1,000. So, not cheap, but it's capable of doing quite a bit. Otherwise, for laptops, it's definitely laptop season. Not that there is any time of the year where laptops are not proudly featured among sales from retailers, but prices are lower than even usual right now on laptops. So definitely a good time to get one. And let's see, we start at only $500 for, it's not going, that laptop's not going to break any speed record anytime soon, but it's got pretty decent spec. You're going to be able to even handle pretty complex documents on that. The only downside of this laptop, well, beside that, it's not super fast, and that it's got a slow hard drive on it, so you might be looking at, if you really hate looking at loading bars, this might not be the laptop for you. But the main problem for me is the screen resolution. It's relatively small, so don't get this if you tend to work with multiple documents at once, or if you play with programs that have very complex interfaces, like audio editing software, video editing software, that sort of thing. It's a little bit too restrictive for that, but for Word, Excel, that sort of thing, as long as the Excel document is not too sprawling, you're going to be pretty fine on that. It's fine for homework and everyday tasks like watching streaming video and audio online, that sort of thing. watching me, that's going to be perfect for that. In terms of compatibility, it will run Fortnite. If you must run Fortnite and all you can have is a laptop and you only have $500 to spend on it, yeah, it will run Fortnite. Maybe not in most impressive specs, but it will. Just keep in mind that, yeah, I talked about the Nintendo Switch a few minutes ago, and that was only $400, and I was running it at 4 or 5 stars. We have 1 right now. So that means that it meets minimal requirements, which is already pretty good. But if all you want to do is play Fortnite, there's better investments than this laptop. But yeah, otherwise you get the versatility of Windows, and as you can see, you can run quite a bit of things on this one. You can even play PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds and Fortnite against each other if you've got a huge investment in Battle Royale games. Otherwise, if you want to invest just a little bit more and aren't put off with buying an open box from Best Buy from their online store, this convertible laptop from HP is definitely worth a look. Then you've got the full 1080p on this one, so good news if you wanted to do graphics, video editing, or even audio editing with all the bells and whistles and wanted to be able to, you know, audio editing software tends to have very complex user interface, you know, lots of little buttons and knobs and stuff like that. So it's much easier to do with a good screen resolution, and this laptop has it for as little as $730. So not bad. We also have a solid state drive on this one, which means it's going to be much faster. If you hate looking at progress bar, this one is going to fare much better than my previous recommendation. It's a little bit smaller though, so keep that in mind. It's only a 14-inch convertible laptop, but yeah, you get it's faster, better in most regard, smaller hard drive, but you can use it as well, let's be honest, a pretty gigantic tablet if you're not put off by the size of that thing as a tablet. But yeah, you get a nice versatility with it. So definitely interesting to take in meetings and stuff like that, even though it doesn't have the best battery life. And yeah, as you see, we're running a few more demanding software with this one. Photoshop, we're only at 2 stars on this, so it's somewhere between the minimum spec and recommended specs, but you can do quite a bit with a 2-star rating on Photoshop, so definitely not a bad pick, especially since this comes with a touchscreen, so you could use quite a few styluses on this, although it doesn't have a pressure sensitive one, a really fancy one, but it can be a gateway device if, let's say, you have kids who like to draw and you'd like them to be able to experiment with digital painting and that sort of things. So yeah, quite a few possibility with this one for not a huge investment, all things considered. Otherwise, a little bit up the chain, and this one is new instead of being an open box. We've got this 13-inch Inspiron, another convertible laptop. The battery autonomy is a little better, but otherwise it looks a lot like the HP I just mentioned, but a little bit smaller. So it's a slightly more practical tablet in this case, and this one is also a better option if you want something new or you want to be able to pick it in stores, as long as there's a Microsoft store close to your house. Otherwise, yeah, you can buy it online. Microsoft is one of my favorite retailer, especially for laptops. I find they often go all out in terms of how generous their rebates are when they do a sale. So yeah, definitely an interesting option to look at, especially if you like the extra battery and the fact that it's easier to carry than my previous option. We have, let's see, let's look at the programs it's able to run and how well. We're still at 2 stars for Photoshop. Otherwise, if I compare them like this real quick, it's roughly the same programs. And yeah, runs them roughly as well. i7 in this one, and we have an i5 in this one. Although, as you see, it's not making a huge difference. Yeah, most programs run at exactly the same level of performance between the two. So, yeah, if you're ever wondering, should I buy this other device because it's got an i7 in there? The answer is sometimes yes. i7s are not always more powerful than i5s. And if we invest in a gaming quote unquote laptop, this is one of the less expensive ones. And let's see, price. Yeah, price is the same as yesterday. It was slightly cheaper, yeah, $50 cheaper a week ago. But still, right now, it's probably one of the more attractive options out there. Let's see what we have in there. So yeah, being a gaming laptop, forget about battery endurance. That thing will drain a battery dry in a very short amount of time, simply because it's so powerful. So as long as you have easy access to power bar, power outlet during the day, it's not too bad. Of course, you're going to be carrying something that is quite a bit more, quite a bit heavier, quite a bit thicker uh, during your whole day. So, used to work in a university, and believe me, the amount of young adults I've seen with back problems because they were carrying laptops too heavy for their own good. Um, I wouldn't recommend that for students or anyone that carries a laptop on a regular basis. But if you need a gaming device you can take with you, or you really cannot dedicate a spot in your house for a gaming laptop, or even for creative tasks at a more professional level, that could be the option for you. Um, so yeah, we're looking at, yeah, memory is not bad. It's definitely not the, it's not going to earn you any bragging rights in the gaming circle, but you've got a good basis there. It's a solid processor in this one, so it's able to take care of quite a bit of graphic work. So if you want to do video editing and all that sort of stuff, those extra capabilities this device has are going to make a huge difference. And yeah, you've got more upgrade options than lots of the really tiny devices in this one too. So there's a chance you might be able to make it last a little longer. Although I must say Graphics capabilities are one of the things you cannot upgrade at a later date. So if gaming is on the menu for you, you're probably going to be replacing this in 2 or 3 years. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, in terms of what program it can run, that's the most powerful, most capable laptop in my selection this week. It's also the one with the worst battery life. It's also the one that is the hardest to carry around. So keep that in mind. But it's still under $1,000. Not an expensive device. So overall, it has a pretty nice balance between how much time I expect it to last, its capabilities, and basically what you get for the price right now. So it's worth considering if your needs are a little heftier than just someone that needs to watch where to, open a Word or Excel document in a meeting room somewhere. With this, you're opening more serious video editing. After Effects is running at recommended specs here. Premiere, you only get 1 star. So probably not going to be a problem even to work in HD as long as your scenes are not too complex. If you want to do 4K or do very complex editing, then this won't do. But you have at least basic access to several, complicated things like AutoCAD or Blender, and you can start messing with 3D and all that sort of stuff at a pretty interesting level already. So it's a pretty good starter laptop if what you need is a laptop, and B, that you want to start working multimedia eventually. That might be a good pick for that. Otherwise, if we invest a little bit more still, we've got that XPS 13 Ultrabook. Yeah, this one is not a convertible. So you get even better battery life on this one. It's also very small, very thin, very easy to carry around, so good for students, road warriors, or even if you're just a frequent traveler and that you need to just prepare for the possibility that you might have to do a tiny bit of work during your vacation this summer because you cannot disconnect entirely for XYZ reason. So for those purposes, this laptop is a very solid contender. It's definitely the laptop on the list with the highest resolution too, so if you like a really good screen with crisp details and all of that, this laptop provides that. In terms of what it can run, we definitely see a decrease in performance compared to the last model, but remember that's at the cost of much improved battery life. This you can expect to be able to last a day on this. The previous laptop, the moment you unhook from the power outlet, you've got some kind of timer running down really quick. So a lot more movement freedom with this model. And you still have pretty good options in there. I mean, you can play Fortnite, you can play Minecraft, you've got Stardew Valley at 4 stars, so no problem there. Want to do music, you've got FL Studio there, Ableton Live running at 3 stars, so that's recommended setting. You've got quite a few fun options in there. And on the other hand, if you're more of a Mac person, The MacBook Pro 13-inch with a 2.3 gigahertz processor is, price is pretty good right now. It's below the usual 1700. So this one only has the 128 gig hard drive in there, so that makes it the hard drive in the whole list with the smallest, the tiniest storage capacity. So even though this one is definitely a good pick for video editing in terms of what it's capable of doing, you would fill the hard drive real quick, so you will need external storage for that. And keep in mind that I think it's only USB Type C on this laptop. So if your current storage use a USB connection, you might need new cable, you might need to get dongles or all of those, which is not a trouble unique to this one. A few of my previous picks also might have lacked a USB Type A connection. Dongle life is not unique to Apple anymore. But yeah, it's a very capable laptop with good battery life, which makes it a very good pick for the road warrior or the roaming or digital artist or designer. So if you, let's say you're a designer and you have to take a laptop in meeting with clients, that's probably a very good pick for that. While some of my previous pick, maybe not as much. It's not as strong as the gaming model I had earlier, and macOS being macOS, we have fewer options for gaming, but there's still quite a few, and you can definitely run quite a bit of creative software on this. So where to look? All right, so that's it for laptop. Stationary computers, right now, not the best timing for those. But we have a few good options. If you're really tight on money right now, one of the safest way to save money would be to go for one of those refurbished models. Because, yeah, those were work machines back in the day. So it's nothing fancy, you won't have the latest feature or anything like that, but it had a solid foundation to start up with. And those have been upgraded with Windows 10, so you're not going to feel that far behind or anything like that. So if you have very little money and just need something for, homework and everyday stuff like watching movies, listening to music, all that sort of stuff, you can unlock those possibilities for only $250 on this one. And yeah, you have more options open to you like this for less money than, let's say, even a Chromebook or something like that. Even though I love Chromebooks, you've got more options open to you on this. It's not necessarily going to be the strongest computer as we see here, but you're going to be able to handle the basics very well. It's going to be fairly flexible too, so it's a good start until you can afford something more. And if you really want to keep your prices low, I would say just remember the keyboard and mouse combo I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. You can get wireless keyboard and mouse for, I think it was $40. Hook that up to the TV, especially if you've got a relatively small living room, and basically you have an extra computer just hooked to the TV, and you don't have to pay for a desk or a monitor or speakers or anything like that, and keep your cost very low that way. So yeah, if you have to be very creative to save money, that might be your option. Otherwise, if we look at something new and a little bit more full-featured, this HP model is pretty attractive right now. You can get it from Staples a little bit everywhere, online and in stores. Basically, good basic specs on this one, and definitely not the most powerful, but you're going to be able to handle multiple documents at once without too much trouble, and definitely handle the basics of productivity at home. This thing is going to be able to handle Excel and Word no problem, no matter how big the task is. So it's pretty good for that sort of thing. We've got several other options open to us on this one as well. So we're seeing Fortnite and Minecraft pop up, obviously. Sims 4 you can play on this, Warframe you can play on this. And yeah, a really good pick for audio editing like Ableton Live and stuff like that. Let's see, AutoCAD, we've got 1 star. So yeah, not the strongest for, let's say, if you're making plans or stuff like that. You'll be able to do the basic, but not necessarily go super far with that. And there's a few creative options open to you as well. And being a desktop computer, you can look at upgrades, but yeah, it's not the strongest foundations for upgrades in the future, so don't expect to really boost the performance much beyond that. But in terms of repairs and boosting the amount of storage or memory you have, that won't be much of a problem in here. It's just as long as you don't expect to turn this into a hardcore gaming rig, you can do quite a bit. Speaking of gaming rig, that Republic of Gamers Strix gaming PC is yeah, very attractive for the price. Ticks most of my boxes in terms of what I would be looking for personally for a gaming device. Those things don't necessarily, those things meaning factory built computer don't necessarily have the most expansion options in them, but they're pretty price effective, and you've got quite a bit of upgrade options on this one. Those things are pretty well built usually. So, and you start with a solid processor. Everything in there is solid to start up with, so I'm not expecting any need to upgrade anything in this for the next 3 years. So we're looking at something that could last you quite a fair amount of time, and even if it's not strong enough for your gaming needs in 3 years, I'd say just slap a new video card in there, spend maybe $150, and you're probably going to be good for another 3 years on that one. So overall, very good investment, especially for gamers. And at 1300s, you unlock most of basically all the popular programs on TechAdvisor are open to you right off the bat. The program that runs the worst on it, because let's face it, that game is very demanding, is Planet Coaster. And even then, you're at 2 stars, so not too shabby. Otherwise, almost everything else is at 5 stars already, which is that's what I consider to be how would I say, uncommon needs for a certain piece of software. So Fortnite 5 stars, I mean, yeah, streaming is an option probably. that or modding, although I don't think you can mod Fortnite. But for Minecraft, for instance, if you like to cram a lot of mods in your Minecraft build, this one will handle that probably, well, just fine. I'd be very surprised if it can't. Or if it even slows down a little bit. Otherwise, if we want to invest a little bit more for better, I think this is a better long-term investment. Always like to include builds from reputable PC builders. Sadly, not all of them list all the list of hardware in a manner that's detailed enough for my taste. But Memory Express, which is my local computer store, has a really nice gaming system for roughly the same price. We're looking at, if we look in here, we have mostly the same specs as the previous Republic of Gamer systems in there. We have a little bit more storage in there and all of that. The big difference is that you've got a full feature motherboard in there. You've got a bigger power supply as well, which are going to make upgrades in the future much easier. So if you like to quote unquote get your hands dirty and do upgrades yourself or even just learn, it's going to be much easier on a build like this one than it would be in a factory built system like the Asus I just showed. And in terms of what it's capable of doing, there's no real difference with my previous picks. So depends basically what your priorities are. For under $1,300, you can get this computer from Best Buy. Let's see, it's available online or in stores, so you could drive to the store, grab it, and play it tonight. Or for nearly the same specs, you could pay almost $250 more, and you get something that's easier to work on later. So basically, if you're going to do the upgrade work yourself, I would go for the Memory Express PC here. If you're going to hire somebody else to do the dirty work, then the Asus model might be a better pick there. Might cost you a little bit more, considering that, yeah, you're going to be hiring someone, and it's going to be a slightly more lossy process. I'm not going to go in detail necessarily all that much because I try to keep things relatively technologically light here. But overall, upgrades are going to cost you more, but at least somebody else is going to experience the pain. And yeah, it's going to be less of a problem. But if you plan of doing the work yourself, you might want to invest just a tiny bit more to have a good case and, you know, room to work in a system like this one here. And for someone with pretty hardcore needs, I mean, this thing has pretty impressive specs right off the bat. They'll usually make pretty good machines. I've maintained quite a few of those during the years, and yeah, I wouldn't expect this to be too hard to maintain in future either. So the specs on this are really good. Personally, I wouldn't spend money on a 1080 right now, but 1070 is pretty much as high as I would recommend going for most people. If you need a 1080, you know who you are. You already know you need one. But for everybody else that is not necessarily looking to get you know, bragging rights or anything like that, 1070 here is going to do almost everything extremely well. So yeah, VR, even you can even start looking at 4K, but let's face it, very few people play above the 1080p resolution anymore. But yeah, you could consider it. Several games are going to run in 4K fairly well on this thing. You're going to be able to get your 60 FPS fairly well too. So definitely worth a look, which is really good for, a computer you can just drive to the store, grab it, and play it tonight. So you don't even have to wait for someone to build it for you. And otherwise, yeah, it's got all the bells and whistle. You've got pretty quick SSD in there. You've got 16 gigs of memory. You've got the GTX 1070 in terms of graphics in there. So not top of the line, but you're at the. I would say that's the graphic card that I would describe as being the fiscally responsible top tier. After that, you're just, yeah, sure, you want to pay extra, you want the VIP treatment and get the VIP performance with a 1080, go ahead. But for most of us, 1070 is just fine. And yeah, easy to pick, and very few things are not going to run at a 5-star rating here. So we've got Premiere and we've got Maya, and those two are basically if you want to run them beyond the 3 stars rating, maybe you're going to have a Quattro card in there or something like that and spend quite a bit of money. But the assumption when you need more than 3 stars for either Premiere or Maya, I'm kind of assuming that you're probably earning a living with those. So it's a little bit easier to spend more money to get the job done. But otherwise, if your goal is gaming or even most creative task, that thing is going to be more than powerful enough for most of us. And you're going to be fine making this thing last for longer. I haven't been able to find a custom build that was able to compete with those specs at that price. You can try it, and a few of the craftier people around here are able to do it. But if you're not into building your own computer from scratch, that's one of the better options right now. And yeah, that's it for this week. Yeah, I'll just hang around just in case you've got any questions or anything like that. But yeah, otherwise, let me know if there's something you knew about that I didn't mention that I should have, in your opinion. And if you enjoyed the stream, please by all means follow me on social media. All my accounts are over here. And you can even subscribe to the Tech Worth Buying newsletter, which basically gives you the whole list in here before I had the time to make a video out of it. So you can, I've been consistently delivering that every Friday before 10 o'clock standard mountain time here. So we've got time saving over here, just so you know. Some areas don't have that. So yeah, that's it for this week. Thank you very much to Spare for hanging out. Definitely appreciate the company, and join me next week for another edition of Tech Still Worth Buying. I will also be working on my gaming rig, streaming rig this afternoon. I'm hoping to start a new series of technologically inclined, I would say, gaming, where I attempt to run modern games on my system, which is far from ideal. I mean, if you thought the $1,300 recommendation I made earlier is not good enough, you haven't seen my gaming system yet. I do with much more than that. So yeah, the idea is going to be to go in a setting, make things work, and experiment with the software and try to get better experience, a good experience out of it, necessarily more than necessarily just, hey, I'm able to run this. So I'm not going to be showcasing games in their best light necessarily, but you will be able to see how they perform in less than ideal condition. So looking forward to try that. Definitely plan on trying installing a few Linux distributions and stuff like that also on stream later. So I'm definitely looking forward to putting that capture card in action and start streaming on that. So that will be a new series in the future. Thanks again. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.